And we are on. Welcome everybody. Welcome to one more special bath Lajja ke saath. And this time we have a speaker who has been in this field quite a long time. She has done a lot of work in the area. And before you ask me who she is, let me talk about the topic at hand first. The lockdown has resulted in a lot of us mothers getting onto Facebook, getting onto social media, and sharing everything that our children can do. In earlier times when we were children, our parents would wait for guests to come home and ask us to beta dance kar, beta gana ga, and we would do that, and then there'd be appreciation and stuff. But now what has happened is, because the world is a village right now and everybody is connected through the net, we take videos of our children, we take pictures of our children as young as 2 weeks old and as old as maybe teenagers, and then we post those pictures. Yes, we get a lot of comments and a lot of likes and a lot of messages from friends and family telling us how talented our children are. But at the same time, we are also giving out content about our children, about our locations, and we are putting our vulnerable children out there for possible child abusers, child sexual abusers, people who have a perverted mind and are looking for content on children. So, to talk a little bit more about that, I will share some statistics also with you a little later. But before that, let me introduce our speaker to you today. It's our honor and privilege to have Nirali Bhatia with us. She's a counseling psychologist specializing in the study of cyber psychology. She's a TEDx speaker and has been quoted in various news channels. She's also the founder of the anti cyber bullying organization called Cyber BAAP, Cyber BAP, which is an acronym for Cyber Bullying Awareness, Action, and Prevention. Besides that, Nirali has been recently appointed as the Vice Chairman, Women's Safety of India's premier and non-profit organization, FSAI, that is the Fire Safety Association of India, which is committed to working towards the goal of Surakshit Bharat. So, welcome Nirali, welcome to Lajja, and it's we are so happy to have you here and try and tell our women, tell our mothers what a world we have out there. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vandana, and a big thank you to Laja for giving me this opportunity to interact with all my fellow women and fellow mothers as well. I'm also a mother of a teenager, so I can
Uh-huh.
completely understand what it is with living with a teenager, and especially during COVID times. So,
Yes.
yes,
So yes,
so.
without wasting any further time, let me just start, with the statistics that I read this morning, that the
Sure.
Maharashtra Cyber Cell has already, they had doubled their efforts to trace and trap pedophiles. But what is important to notice is that there has been an increase in traffic on Pornhub from India by up to 95% between March 24th to March 26th. This is 3 days that we
Yes.
are talking about. And searches for like child porn or sexy child has gone up. So maybe we can start by telling us what is it that these pedophiles, child sexual offenders are looking for when they are searching on the net.
Um, so yes, it's a very valid research and a very valid concern at this moment. In fact, just 3 days back, I was on Doordarshan, and where with me there was the DIG cybercrime along, and we were just talking about that yes, these statistics are absolutely right based on the information that we have received from the agencies who track these kind of searches. And unfortunately, Maharashtra and Gujarat, these are the two states where maximum access, maximum data generation, and also data search has been found. So, to understand, to begin with, who are these pedophiles? So, pedophilia is a kind of condition where the person is far more excited, imagining and thinking about a very infant or a child who's under the age of 13, 14, or 18, technically speaking, as in. So there are two things to this, that yes, pedophiles are there across the globe. They were always a part of our society, and it's their kind of it's a condition that they suffer from, that they seek pleasure when they think about genitals of a very very young child or an infant also at times. But it becomes dangerous to the society when they start enacting on those visual thoughts or on those pleasurous things, where they start seeking out these children. And with the internet medium, it's become far easier for them to get access to these kind of children. Like you said in the beginning, that a lot of us are unknowingly supplying the material that they are looking for. See, initially when there was
True.
no internet, they would have to wait for years and plan, and to reach out to a child or seek pleasure looking at the child's picture and imagining and stuff. But today it's all very easy. On internet you have surplus of everything. So that's
Absolutely.
definitely something. And it on screen, it's very difficult to figure out who are you talking to on the other side. So I don't want to scare you all, but I want you all to understand that the web that we access is only the tip of the iceberg. There is a whole dark area of this web, which is called as dark deep web, which cannot be accessed via regular browsers. But that's where this kind of content is sold. So the pictures that we post, to give you examples, all these challenges that come up,
Yes.
where or all the content that we are posting, once on internet, it's permanent, it's not going anywhere. Even if you delete your account, if you delete that post, the information is still traceable, maybe not by you and me as a common people, but by the experts and by the criminals who have technology know-how. So deep dark web is a place where there is a huge market, huge demand, particularly for Asian children. And unfortunately,
Yes.
unknowingly, we are supplying to that particular demand. So it is not something that we can just tell ourselves, "Arey chill, nothing will happen. मेरे बच्चे के साथ कुछ नहीं होगा." No, you never know. This is the world of internet where you actually never know.
Absolutely. Now, what should a parent do? We cannot tell parents outrightly don't put pictures of your children, because no matter, it's human psyche. You tell them not to do it, and they'll probably end up doing more of it. So
True.
I mean, we never outgrow that kind of a thing. Mana kiya to karna
Yes.
hi hai kind of thing. So what
Yeah, the
can they
reverse
do
psychology
if
that
they want
works
to
here.
share pictures?
So,
Yes. So
yes,
what can they do?
there are safe practices that we can follow. Though, let me warn you right in the beginning, none of them are 100% safe. Like I said, that once thing goes on internet, in the internet space, it's a very small world. It can reach in a blink of an eye to various locations. But yes, the few things that you can make sure that avoid and putting a full length or a close up picture, which not only the predators like pedophiles or perverts, but also today the artificial intelligence bots are being used to generate this kind of collect this kind of data and supply. So even for them, it should not be easy to use these kind of pictures. So if you give out your close up pictures with all the finer details, it's very easy to morph it, to use it, to manipulate it. Same way, if you give out a full length picture, then yes. Then secondly, understand, why are you sharing? You want to share with people who are not known to you? Would you go in a train, on a local train, taking a picture of your child in your hand? You would not. So why are you doing it on internet? Ask yourself that question. And if your answer is that, okay, I didn't know so far, then now you know. So make your profiles private. Only add people you know, people you can trust, and people you know in real world, so you can validate that. Okay, see, you may go and look up for Salman Khan, you will find 100 accounts. How do you know which is actually his account? So agreed, they are celebrities, but same way today, if you are looking for Nirali Bhatia, there could be a hacker who may create a profile, who may impersonate me, and you will never be able to come to know. So until and unless you can speak to the person and validate, do not add them to your social circle. Yes, I'm not saying deprive yourself of sharing your happy moments with your family, with your friends. We've been doing that as a society for years, and we can continue doing that. But understand that on internet also you can have a private society where people you're adding up. So that is the second practice that you can do. The third one is that make sure that you have some sort of watermarks on these pictures, or they are not really very high quality pictures. See, today with the mobile cameras getting better and better, most of us are having very very high quality pictures that can be printed. Just download from your Facebook profile and print it, and it can be printed as big as a poster size also. So for that you must see a movie called Poster Boys, and what all can happen with your pictures. That's just one example, but yes, it could be used. So these few 2 3 things that you can manage, but I will still leave you with that question of why are you sharing it. Is it because even if you
Okay.
have a very young talented child who's just 4 and 5, is that the kind of career you're looking for your child immediately? Then you know the risk that you're taking. But if not, please share it in your close groups and not on these open forums.
Okay, so then that comes brings us to the next question of where schools are now online and there are online activities, and
Yes,
schools also have Facebook pages, and
correct.
they take pride in the fact that their students are brilliant in whatever XYZ activities, and they put pictures of their children, of the students. uh, I have had cases. I'm so sorry that the earphones are giving you trouble.
No, no,
But
it's
yeah, coming
okay.
back to my questions, I have had cases where parents have come and said, "अरे मेरे बच्चे का photo वो लोग ने अभी तक डाला नहीं है."
Yes.
So, what would you say schools?
So I'll explain this with an example. I had a case some time back, and it was almost on the verge of a kidnapping of a child as young as
Mhm.
9 years. So this child was playing an online multiplayer game. Most of the games today are multiplayer games. Of course, he did not add any strangers to his group of playing. He was playing with his friends, and then they had their cousins, and then that cousin had some friend. So there was definitely somebody whom none of them knew towards the end, because it was too via. And while playing a game, they all decide a mutual time to play and a mutual the kind of strategy they make. So there's a lot of bonding, there's a lot of chatting happening during these times. And when there are these criminals, they have that kind of an art that they actually befriend the child, they take as much information as possible. So even in this child's case, he had that information, that what time does he go to tuitions, who all is there in the house, and what time does he come back, what time, or where is his mother working, and what is their financial status, etc., etc. Except for the school information, he had most of it as such. In terms of
Okay.
school, the child had yet not given the name, but what happened was that this kid, when he goes to tuition, obviously the phones are on silent. Tuition teacher's phone is on silent, and in that moment, what was planned was they called up the mother, saying that we have your child and you have exactly 15 minutes to transfer so much money. Now the mother tries to reach the child. Obviously, the child's phone is on silent. She tries to reach the tuition teacher. The phones are on silent. She's at work. She doesn't know what to do and stuff like that. So, luckily, what so happened was that the mother had some another relative who had come to stay in the house, and this perpetrator did not know about it. So she sent that girl to the tuition place and to check, is my child there? And that's how they came to know,
Uh-huh.
and the child was there because everything was nearby and the mother had the presence of mind. But the picture that those
Yes.
perpetrators sent to the mother showing that your child is with me was from the school website. And it was in the
So
uniform on which
see,
they
yes,
had done Photoshop and they had put some blood on it and stuff like that. So I'm not saying not to have pictures, but if things have to go wrong, there are these kind of cases that are happening also. Now, in this case, it was a bluff. Those perpetrators were not in the physical vicinity and all. They took a chance that yes, if the mother would have panicked, she would have given the money and nothing would have happened. But
absolutely.
imagine this happening in real. If you have your child's picture in your school uniforms or where he's studying, how difficult is it to relate? Where is this school? Where is this? From your residence to your house, how far it is, and what are the other activities and stuff like that. So, having pictures after a certain age where there are, even if the school puts, we ask always them to put it in a group, not tag the child, they can write the names down. Trust me, internet is a place which is very, very short lived. For that one picture, the price that you're paying is huge at times. So relax.
Yes,
You
yes,
know about the
absolutely.
child's merits. School knows about the child's merits. It's okay if it does not go on the website.
Very true. Uh, it's very interesting that you spoke about pictures of groups. I've had a friend who
Hmm.
used to put up pictures of groups. So my child is also in that group picture, and I would ask her, "Why have you put it?" So she's like,
Hmm.
"नहीं किसी का नाम नहीं लिखा है, सबका picture है ना." Like it's a
Correct.
group picture, but
Yes.
even that sometimes used to worry us. Ki, is this the right thing? Should these pictures be going out? You know?
See, I agree. I understand to your worry, but also we have to consider the fact that this is now the way, this entire social media has become an integral part of our lives. It's become an extended part. So there are risks, no
Absolutely.
doubt about that. Sorry. Okay. So there is no
No, no,
doubt
I
that
didn't say
there are
anything.
risks, but it's a calculated risk. At the same time, if you as a parent consciously take a stand that look, I don't want my child in on the social media anywhere else, but tomorrow if he sees his peers are there while he has equal achievement and he's still not there,
Yes,
he's going to feel that, he's going to have inclusion issues, he might
absolutely.
feel that. So I won't say that no, I don't want to get paranoid about it, but at the same time explain to them the risks also, so that they don't start expecting and they don't start flaunting about it, and hence the group pictures are still considerably safer.
Yes. Yeah, I know how this is because it's been a week since my daughter has been wanting to put up a YouTube video of her dance, and I have been at a wit's end trying to explain that no, I don't think I want to do that. But yes, peer pressure is a big thing, and as the
It
kids are
is.
growing up, they want their friends are online, they want to be online, and
Correct.
I think this also works about tracking their timelines. Your child is going to school, you take a picture saying my child is off to school and my child is coming back from school, and
Yes. This is
things like that,
virtual
tired kid
living,
coming
which
back.
is not required, right? Virtual living is seriously not
Yes,
required where we are checking in here, checking in there. Whom are you telling? I mean, if people you really
absolutely.
want to inform would be your first family, and you have other ways to tell them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if schools and if parents want to take pictures of their children
Hmm.
and put it up on the net, one of the basic things that I have understood over the years is, one is whenever you're taking a picture of your child in your school uniform, try and avoid getting a glimpse of the logo of the school or maybe the
Yes.
eye of the school. Like that, are there a
Correct.
couple of things that we can keep in mind? Anything more that you can
So
share on that
yeah,
particular thing?
the location, the location should always be off. Maximum apps that we use. See, today nobody is only using a camera. Okay, there are always apps which enhance the picture quality. Those filters that they put and all. Each of these apps, when you download, By default, while downloading, they ask you for a lot of settings, and because you're excited to use it, you're going to say yes, yes, yes to all. Okay, do it at that point of time when you're installing it. Once it is installed, go back and please remove anything that defies common sense. So let's say if there is a camera filter app where it is going to enhance my picture, it does not need to have location. It does not need to have access to my contacts. It does not need to have a direct access to Facebook. I can take an extra effort of saving it on my phone first and then manually uploading it to Facebook. So these kind of precautions we can take, that make sure that the apps which do not require your location, it should be, you will be surprised to go back and check on your mobile that 80-90% of the apps that are using will have your locations on, will have access to your camera on, will have access to your mic on, will have access to your contacts also on. Please ask yourself, does this app require this? Even if it is an Uber app, you can still give an option of only when in use access my location. Otherwise, in the background,
True.
constantly your location is being shared, which can become a risk factor. And why unnecessarily give that information? So the base way to go about this is ask yourself that whatever you're doing online, if it has to happen in real world, would you still do it? Like, for example, I mentioned about location. Are you
True.
going to wear a placard over here saying I am coming from Khar and I'm going to Bandra or something like that? No, right? You're not going to tell it to the public. That's exactly what location does. So you can put those things off. Then when the schools put the picture, that is on their private website servers, so there can be security settings where they can have they can control who's accessing. They cannot control 100% the saving of the pictures from that, but to a large extent they can control that there is no right click possibility to save. Only when people who are a little more smarter will be able to figure out other ways to do. So there are these kind of ways also that you can safeguard your this thing. Keep all your auto syncs off on your devices with all the apps. I had a case like this where girls were having some fun. Young girls, 13, 14 years old, they'd gone for a sleepover party. They were having fun. One of the girls who slept early, they did all the makeup with the toothpaste and kajal and lipstick and all, and to make her look really. I won't use the word ugly, but make her look not so good, kind of. But it was an internal fun. There were no cameras because she had gone to sleep. One of the friends had taken a picture so that next morning they will show her. They all had good laugh, they had fun, they went back home. After 2-3 days, that picture started circulating on internet, and that's where the problem started. Because
Okay.
if your profiles are not private, anybody can see this picture, and one nasty comment can open the gateway to tons of such comments and bullying and trolling. Now, in this case, when we investigated it, the girl who had taken the picture, she had not on purpose uploaded it on Instagram, but her sync was on, auto sync. So automatically, Instagram would look for the recent pictures and would post it. So sometimes, if we
Okay.
have accidentally taken pictures, many women do this, when they go to shop, when they are in the changing room, they want to share it with their friends. How am I looking? Kind of those kind of pictures you're taking. But if your auto syncs are on, you never know when these pictures will go on to internet. So make sure that none of this is on. And even when you're not using your phone cameras, or you're not using your phone, or you are in a place which is like a changing room or a bathroom or something, it's advisable that wherever you put your phone in your purse, but if it's not in your purse, it's on your hand, make sure you put a tissue paper on it or a handkerchief on it, so that if at all your camera has been hacked or anything, no such pictures are available at such point of times.
Okay. Interesting. That was very, very insightful. Um, okay. Now let's deviate a little bit and we talk about the games that these children play. If, uh, we have spoken enough and more PUBG and all of that. and
Yes.
yet I see children playing that. So why is there a
Yes.
ban on it, or is it so easy to download these games?
Yes. So, ban was proposed, but it never happened in all the states. And trust me, even if it is banned, there are n number of ways that you can access and you can get. But like, let's take an example of porn. Porn is banned in India for years, but are you telling me that it's not available to Indian audience? No ways. Similarly, these games are
Yeah.
the
Huh.
reason. If you're talking of PUBG, particularly, the reason there were issues with this game was the kind of violence that was part of this game. The interface of the game is so real like that when you're playing that game virtually, some part of you gets so connected to it that you start role playing that, which is what has led to extreme reactions and extreme behaviors. And these games are designed in such a way. See, there are no free lunches. If we are downloading or we are using something free, we are paying them in different ways, like our data, like our time that we invest into it. So all this is the kind of payment that we are making. Instead of buying those games and playing, this is the way they are billing us today. So these games are designed by default to make them far more attractive. And for a child, he may have the technical know-how, but they still do not have the wisdom to foresee what could go wrong into this. No child has the foresight that, okay, maybe a month later or 3 months later or 4 months later I might get addicted. None of them can foresee that. The pleasure points that it triggers in your body, the brain chemicals that is released, it makes it much more attractive that you want to keep on doing that activity again and again and again. But it's the content of that game which made it extremely dangerous. That So the best thing I tell parents is that you may not be able to keep your child off that game, because if the entire class is playing, your child can have inclusion issues. You want them to play, but
Yes.
then it is better first you also engage, experience that game once, because you would have that wisdom to understand what can go wrong with that game. Technically people like us can tell you, but there are a lot of other emotional things which you will experience, and you would be in a better position to explain your child that, look, this is how it actually absorbs you inside. Like, for example, that game is all about survival. You kill somebody and you get more lives and you go ahead and stuff. Now killing somebody can be with one
Hmm.
bullet. This game makes you kill that person by putting in multiple bullets, much more aggressive. If you have to stab once, person can die, but you keep stabbing, you imagine what's happening in your head. And that's what was making this game a far more aggressive and very hyper state the kids would reach into. Plus it's a very fast moving thing, so there's a lot of sense of achievement when you cross levels and levels and levels, and which is what makes you addicted to that game. That there is a sense of achievement, there's a sense of belonging to the community of people who are playing PUBG. So children find all these over there, which acceptance, which belonging they do not find here, they look for in these kind of games.
Absolutely. And I think with this lockdown, the children, because they have nothing better to do, they have a schedule of studying online, and then what to do? So they tend to go to this. And I'm sure, I
Right.
don't know the statistics for that, but I'm sure you must have seen it. You must have seen a sudden surge in game downloads and, things like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. Agreed. That the time spent on, so the statistics that I have is that an average time before the lockdown spent by children on internet or for entertainment and internet overall was not more than 3 to 4 hours maximum. Today it has gone to 7 to 8 hours. So, well, yes, because the schooling is also online. So, of course, a few hours are dedicated to that schooling. And the other times where there's nothing else to do. So, this is our getaway kind of an escape place, that when I'm bored, I have something instant to do over here on internet. Now, we understand the situation currently, and I won't say that okay, just get up and pull out all the gadgets from your child's hand and stuff. No, it may not work. But what you can do is you can involve them and involve yourselves. There's a lot many other games that as a family you can play on this. So technology in itself is
Yeah,
not good or bad. It is about the content that you're using that technology for, and what you're consuming from that content is what is making it subjectively good and bad. So I've seen a lot
true.
of groups, organize these games. If your child wants to play on gadget, you can play games like tennis. You can play games like soccer. You can play Scrabble. It does not have to be only the violent games. While I know that those are a little more attractive, but you can set some rules that yes, I'm not depriving you of the gadget and internet, but let me tell you what all we will be doing. So instead of telling them not to do, let's change the dialogue to what can we do? And that will bring a big shift,
Yeah,
because it's impossible to keep them entertained all the time because y'all are working from home. There is household chores to do. It's all about involving children, and they love it. They love it the moment you tell them that yes, this is what they may have initial reaction that is a very typical of children towards their parents, but at the end they like being part of this entire household. Share your responsibilities with them, involve them in households, play the games online, because digital is their favored medium. They are born in digital era. We
yes,
cannot always tell them hamare zamane mein ye hota tha. They're not going to relate to it at all.
they're
So
not going to read. Yeah,
we need to move on with their generation and get on to playing with. I cannot go down and play badminton with my kid, but I can definitely play it online. The thing is, I'm at least engaging him into something which is meaningful. I have a bonding happening and it's not violent. So that's how
true.
we can bring that shift, and make sure the presence and the use of gadget is well monitored.
Well monitored. Easier said than done, but then of course, I think parents need to make that
It's the
effort.
first
Yeah,
step, a day at a
it's
time,
the
and it works. The
yes,
say and do really works. Like I will never say that tomorrow onwards tell him aaj se sirf 2 ghanta. No, if you want to implement that, you have to start telling from a week. Let look from 5th May onwards, we are going to cut down the time for you and me both, and it has to come back to 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever you all decide mutually. But you keep saying this so it prepares them mentally, not like suddenly okay kal se. It's not like the way lockdown was put on us. Well, this time
yeah.
the situation was beyond our control and we could not get time,
Hmm.
but here we can, and you will see that the resistance mellows down because now they know that you're serious. Number one. Number two, they have time. They feel that okay, at least it's not being forced on me. I still have time. At least I have 4 days more, and it will, and then they will start cooperating. So I am not
True,
saying it's going to be like overnight change, but it's never too late to begin.
true, true. Okay, we have a couple of questions coming in from our
Sure.
viewers. We have a question from Colonel Rohit Mishra. Colonel Rohit
Yeah.
Mishra is somebody who also does a lot towards, he runs an organization called Fight
Huh.
Back. So, where they're teaching self defense to specifically girls and women.
Oh,
And
lovely.
so, he also does a lot of this kind of, yeah, you should connect also. So, he also
I'm
does a
sure.
lot of these kind of trainings and talks about cyber security and stuff. So, he's asking a question. He says,
Sure.
can
Huh.
Instagram or any other social media sites upload pictures without permission if the auto sync is on? So, yes.
um so there are ways to do it, in like when we have set up Instagram on our phones. We have the choices to keep the settings on. Now if I keep auto sync on, even in auto sync there are different settings, and they are uh, all of these mediums, they keep changing their security measures. So now the off lately, that auto sync option, it will still prompt you 2 3 times before that, you're sure what captions you want to use. But initially, when Instagram had not reached this level, where so much of crime was happening, it was a different setting. So today, if you ask me, then right away it is not uploading anything without your consent. Even if your auto sync is on, it will stay, but it will still ask you for a prompt to post it. Again, it depends on the settings that you have kept.
Okay, I hope that answered it, Colonel. Now we have Bhavna who's asking us. Now
Huh.
Bhavna is a member of India and she's very active, follows all our talks. So she
Oh,
says,
lovely.
being a cyber psychologist, how would you advise a mother of a teenage child how and what to explain to the child about the cons and pros of uploading the pics or data of the daily schedule? How do they get the shift? Oh, we have had this entire
Well,
discussion on that.
this is $1 million question, and I have been very actively visiting schools, visiting organizations, talking about the same thing. So I'll tell it in a very simpler form. Um, when a child is very young, and this is the first time his or she is going to go out of home, don't we educate them about the society norms, society rules, how to cross a road, certain civics etiquettes and stuff? Similarly, today we need to teach them the etiquettes and the hygiene that they need to maintain on digital in the digital space. So which of course schools are doing their bit now, they're getting more proactive, but as a parent also we need to do that. Number two, you are having a teenager, do not treat them as children, consider them as an adult. You may feel that he is not listening or she is not listening to you, but trust me, the words are going there. So whenever you come across any such case, like me being in the field, I make sure that the case is relevant. I will go and talk to my child and I will mention. And similarly, you being a child of teenage who is spending a lot of time on internet, you must keep all those alerts about cybercrimes against children or latest cybercrimes so that you are updated, and make it a point to talk it to him just for his knowledge. So what happens is that somewhere at back of the mind, I know that yes, okay, this can go wrong. So telling them that don't live socially, so much information you are giving online, if it is going to come from a parent, there is always going to be resistance, and the dialogue will be, mom, you don't understand, but this is
You
how
don't
we are
understand.
and this is
Yes.
what we do. This is very common. This is what every child in a workshop tells me, that my mom does not understand. I'm sure my child would be saying the same thing. It's not going to be different. But instead, if we make it a point to engage with them and ask them about how you can also do this thing, that is the areas where we find bonding. You cannot stop them from going on social media. All you can do is prepare them by sharing this awareness with them. So like initially in my intro, they had mentioned that I run a foundation which is anti cyberbullying organization. So under that, we conduct a lot of workshops for children, for parents, in terms of how to have a good etiquettes and digital hygiene. And that's what prevention is, the only way, and awareness is the way, far empowering way to prevent certain things. There is no foolproof mechanism that I tell you today you do this and nothing's going to happen to your child. No, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, in this domain, there is nothing like that.
Unfortunately. Exactly. Okay, Prerna Vaswani, again, somebody who actively follows all our talks. She's asking, how much safe is Google Photos app for all? Nowadays, mostly all the photos of every Android phone get saved in
Yes,
Google Photos. So,
yes.
how safe is it?
Um, if you have to ask me in terms of rating, if you have all your two factor authentications and everything in place, it is safe. But I cannot tell you that that's the best place to have your photos. It is better to have it on an external drive, because eventually it is going in the cloud. Google has made a lot of provisions that yes, the security is good, but we know that hackers are always on the learning edge. They're far sharper than us to kind of hack any sort of databases. So that is the biggest threat if of any private information or a personal sensitive information going in cloud. So you have your two factor authentications, this that, but if the Google's entire database is hacked, when your photos are gone. So the best place is that the moment you have taken your pictures, you download them from Google Photos, because Android by default saves it on Google Photos. Put it on an external drive and erase it from there. Keep only the ones which you require, and which, if at all the photos are leaked, they're not going to be very, very harmful to you. So those types you can, maybe the ones you use for your profile or something like that.
True. I hope, Prerna, that answered your question. Now, is there any helpline that people can go to in case there are problems like this? If they find a morphed photo of the child, or maybe like the
Huh.
incident that you shared, where somebody had used the picture of the child when the child had gone for tuition. Now,
Correct.
if there, who do we contact? Who do we get to if we have faced a problem like this?
Okay, so I'll answer this in three parts. If you come across any content on any of these social media platforms which is inappropriate or which is disturbing, please use the button of block and report. Whether it has come to you, it has come to somebody you know, all of these have a place which is report and block. How does this report and block work? See, we understand that there is the number of people accessing the social media is way beyond our imagination across the globe, so they can't have any one person manually sitting and monitoring the content, what are we uploading. How they do is they have an algorithm in place that any content that gets maximum number, I think the number is somewhere around 13 to 15, for them to get an alarm that okay, there have been 13 block requests on the same content, they will pull it down automatically. So you
Okay.
using those buttons is very, very important. The second thing is that if you have been victim to any such kind of harassment, or you or your loved one or anyone that you know, taking a screenshot is very important because it becomes your evidence. And we have a national portal called cybercrime.gov.in, which has a special segment to report any crimes against women and children. Not necessarily that it has to be you as a victim, like you asked, that if you see someone else's also, you can go and report over there. Just put a screenshot. They will ask you for your personal details because they need to know who is reporting, and you will get a message from them that they've taken note of it. So that is second place. Third is there are organizations like mine, there are many more, where we are all working towards making this cyberspace very, very safe and meaningful for our children. So you can definitely report on to our kind of platforms. Mine is cyberbab.org. There are multiple such in India itself. And they are all, I mean, we all are connected at some point or the other, and we all are working towards the same direction. So if you don't know any other medium, reach out to us and we can guide you that yes, what can be done about this. But the advantage with cyberspace is you can retain the evidence. The first step, take a screenshot of any kind of such material so that it becomes an evidence. Second step, please block and report on those particular platforms. And if it is not on any platform, then you can report it to the organizations like ours. And if it is if you've been a victim, or if somebody you know is being victimized, then please report to the government at cybercrime.gov.in. It's a very effective portal, and they are very, very active on this. Particularly when it is anything related to children, it is on high priority for them.
Okay, okay. I also, during the course of my research, I also saw the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, or a child line 1098. Does that work?
Yes, NCPCR. Yes, it does. It's not like it doesn't work.
Okay,
So you can. It is more
okay,
for physical crimes, that if you're seeing somewhere a child is being abused, or there is some kind of violence, or he's lost or whatever. So, but nevertheless, you can also speak about any kind of cybercrime. This online medium is great. You can always do over there also. So there
Okay.
are places where you can reach out to.
Okay. Shaili Bajaj Ahuja asks, what about the WhatsApp or Skype video calls we do of kids with friends or family members? Can anyone
Yes.
access those?
Well, there is an encryption in place. Only and only if your device is compromised, then there can be a risk that that information is not private anymore and somebody else is having access. So the best precautionary measure that you can take is never ever click on any link which you are not sure of, which you're not sure whether this about the sender or about the content of the link. Make sure that you have your antiviruses completely updated on the devices that you use for any of these video conferences. So if these things are in place, then it's not a problem. These calls are they are encrypted. So it's not that WhatsApp can see what you're sharing, or Skype can see what you're sharing. But if your devices are
Okay.
compromised, then somebody else can definitely see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Prerna
there's
is
a
again asking,
question. Yes.
yes, if we get any fraud call or message, can we report that also on the portal?
Yes, you can do that. You can do that. Make sure you note down all the what do you call it as the details of the calls. So I'll tell you what are the trending ones. There are three crimes which are very very high trending, and in last 4 weeks I have also got umpteen number of cases on these. The first one is of sextortion. So you may get an email saying the subject line would be your own password. Your password could be any password, whether it's of your Gmail or of your social media account. And the body would say that I know what you did last night, and I have a video of you doing it, and now I'm going to share it with all your friends and family on social media. If you do not pay me so many bitcoins. So this is very, very trending. It's
Okay.
absolute fraud. Do not panic. It's very natural. So what happens? They send it mass mail. In between, there were compromises of data of Zomato and such two, three other organizations. So these are the hackers who have purchased this kind of data from the dark web, and then they are shooting out emails. Now, out of, let's say, for example, out of 10 emails that they've sent, at least one or two people might have seen something which could be embarrassing, and then they would panic that, oh my God, how did he or she know? So it is simple fraud, just ignore. But after ignoring, also make sure that your passwords are very, very strong. Make a very good combination of alphanumeric characters, of capitals, of smalls, and do not store it on your phone anywhere. Make a diary, keep a diary and put it in that, and you can figure out ways in which that is accessible only to you. Then the second trending crime that is happening is the calls that you're getting, which I personally also got, which that somebody called me and said कि मैडम आपका डेबिट कार्ड जो है ना वो लॉक हो गया है, एंड अभी आप तो नीचे जाके चेक नहीं कर सकते हो, पर मैं आपके लिए ये कर सकता हूँ, तो आपको करना है तो आप तुरंत बोलो, वरना वो ब्लॉक ही रहेगा, फिर आपको आपके कैश का एक्सेस नहीं होगा. So this is the kind of calls that you get. Do not entertain them. Just tell them that it's okay, I don't want to unblock, and keep up the phone. Keep down. The more you engage into them, they will convince you. It is the model which was explained in the movie called Jamtara. If you all have not watched, watch it on, I think it's on Netflix. You can watch it, and there's also a documentary which is there available on YouTube also on Jamtara. So this is the second type of, which is a financial fraud, and the third one is a family emergency fraud. Now in this, what's happening is that maybe one of your family members account would have been compromised, email account or a social media account, and from that, whichever accounts are, so on social media we link, the relatives, spouse, brother, mother, father. That's how people come to know. So they send out an email saying, impersonating that person, and then they will write to you that, my like let's say for example, one of my clients received, he got an email from his brother saying, and he was in a different country, and the brother is back here in India saying that, look, dad has fallen prey to coronavirus, and I'm in a hospital and I'm not able to access my bank account, so can you please transfer me the funds immediately. So this is a panic time. Nobody thinks that, oh my God, will this be a fraud because the email has come from my brother's ID. But the best
Brother.
way to check the email is always roll over on the email ID display name. Check that email ID and please call up your family or whoever friend who has from whose ID this kind of mail has come. It is called as the family emergency. So they don't give you time. They just tell them that if you don't do it now, then this will happen, that will happen. So these are very new trending crimes which are happening very frequently now. So be aware and be watchful about that. And if you get any such, the first thing is not to indulge into them, indulge into any conversations with them. Second is note down that number if you start getting it repeatedly. So then you have something to report. If you just go and write, I got a call, how will police help you? You need to have the number, you need to have the context and kind of stuff.
True. Now Bhavna has one more question. She's an animal lover. So
Oh,
she's written,
lovely.
can animal abuse videos be reported?
Yes, of course. If you notice the animal help organizations like BSPCA or AMTM, these are the few ones I know. Even when they put up pictures, they always write over their content is sensitive. Like if so, let's say they have put up a picture of a dog who's met with an accident and the picture is not really nice, or if they are putting up a picture of crime against or an abuse against an animal, they will always write over there sensitive. So if you think that this picture is being misused and it is very very sensitive, please report. You can definitely, anything that you feel is harmful to you. See, to you and me it may be harmful or it may hurt us to see it, but for somebody else it may not. But the button is for us, basis our understanding of this. So you can very much report an abuse against animals also.
Wow, Nirali, this has been a wonderful
Pleasure.
conversation and we have gone beyond the time that we set for ourselves. So before we end, I want you to leave my audience with 5 things that they need to keep in mind.
Okay. So, firstly, I would like to thank for being such a wonderful audience, and once again, big thank you to Laja for taking up this initiative and giving me this opportunity to connect with my fellow friends. I'm also part of Laja, so. Five things. The first and the foremost is uh, n- no panic, no scare. Technology is not bad. It's for what you use it is what. So map your intent on it. Secondly, when it comes to children, having a time limit is a non-compromising factor. It's very very important that we set the time limit for our children and we set it reasonable. The best thing that I advise is that let's have a dialogue with our children and bring it as a consent that, oh, look, this is what I'm thinking to do for you, and do a say and do. The third one is in terms of data sharing. So any kind, the mantra that we normally propagate is zip it, lock it, and block it. This is what, so zipping meaning less is more. The lesser information you share on internet, the safer you are. Make sure that you're sharing it with people who matter, who are in your personal contact, and the settings are all private. Blocking it is in terms of whatever content is disturbing, please block it immediately. Not indulge into a dialogue with those people because that's what they look for, some kind of attention, and then the bullying starts or the trolling starts. And the third is for reporting it. So zip it, block it, and flag it. Flag it is for reporting. That if you report more and more reports on those, the content is automatically filtered. Until and unless we report, how will the law enforcement or these kind of mediatories come to know that this content is hazardous? So yes, this is the mantra that you can also follow. Then the next one is that in terms of your photo sharings, like I said earlier, that the pictures that, see, putting anything on internet is like putting a hoarding outside your home. So you should know what would you be happy to look at after a lot of time, like maybe after a few years also. If I'm happy looking at my poster up there, put it up with the risk involved. Once on internet, it is permanent, it's not going anywhere. Actively the data is available for 2 years, but after that a hacker can still get an access. So put only those things which you will be happy to see after a few years also. And the last point that I'd like to make is, please invest into educating your children about digital hygiene and etiquettes. Being polite is the must that every child must understand, because words over here draw out wars, wars against ourselves and against others as well. So thank you so much. And
Wow.
remember my
Thank
mantra:
you,
zip it,
Nirali.
black it, and flag it, and that can
Like it. Yeah.
get yes.
Thank you so much, Nirali. Like Riddhi
My
always says, thank you, Dil se. And
my
I hope,
pleasure.
we've had a conversation like this earlier also with Sonali Patnankar, and she had also
Yes,
shared a lot of information with us. Had to
correct.
redo this conversation because we realized that with everybody sitting at home, the net was their go-to haven for all the holiday
Absolutely.
plans that got cancelled. Were suddenly being lived out on
Yes,
Facebook and on YouTube. So we
true.
thought that this was important to talk about this topic. So thank you
Correct.
once again, and I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation. So till
My
we meet
pleasure.
again, please come back for the next special bath. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Nirali. Have
Thank
a
you.
good
Thank
day.
you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye bye.
Thank you, everybody.